The rain hit Veronica's face like tiny needles as her suitcase crashed onto the wet pavement. She stumbled forward, her knees scraping against the concrete as her stepmother's shrill voice echoed from the doorway behind her. "Don't you dare come back here, you ungrateful wretch. You're not my daughter, and you never were." Veronica's hands trembled as she pushed herself up, her brown skin glistening with rain and tears. The door slammed shut with such force that the sound reverberated through her entire body. 23 years of her life, condensed into one battered suitcase now soaking in a puddle. Her father hadn't even come out to say goodbye. He'd simply stood in the hallway, his eyes avoiding hers, choosing his new wife and her daughters over the child who'd called him daddy for over 2 decades. "This is your story now," Veronica whispered to herself, grabbing the suitcase handle. "So make it count." Before we dive into Veronica's incredible journey of heartbreak, forbidden love, and dangerous secrets, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Hit that like button because trust me, you'll want to support this story. And drop a comment telling me what you would do if your family kicked you out. Now, let's get into this emotional roller coaster. 3 days. That's how long Veronica had been sleeping in a 24-hour cafe, nursing a single cup of coffee and pretending to work on a laptop she'd long since pawned. Her savings account showed $12.37. Her phone had 17 missed calls from debt collectors. And her stomach hadn't seen a proper meal since the day before yesterday. She was staring at the cafe's bathroom mirror, trying to make herself presentable for yet another job interview, when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Hello? Is this Veronica Johnson?" The voice was female, professional, with a slight accent she couldn't place. "Yes, who's asking?" "My name is Mrs. Park. I represent someone who has a proposition for you. A job opportunity, if you will. Can you meet me at the Lotus Garden restaurant in 1 hour?" Veronica's grip tightened on the phone. In her experience, nothing good came from mysterious propositions. But $12.37 didn't leave much room for pride. "I'll be there." The Lotus Garden restaurant was the kind of place Veronica had only seen in movies. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, servers in pristine uniforms gliding between tables like dancers. She felt every eye on her as she entered in her only clean outfit, a simple black dress she'd worn to her college graduation 3 years ago. Mrs. Park was waiting in a private room at the back. She was an elegant Korean woman in her 50s, her hair pulled into a perfect bun. "Miss Johnson, thank you for coming. Please, sit." Veronica sat, her back straight despite her exhaustion. "What kind of job are we talking about?" Mrs. Park smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Direct." "I appreciate that. Let me be equally direct. My employer needs a wife." Veronica blinked. "Excuse me?" "A contracted marriage. 1 year. You will live with him, act as his wife in public settings, and in return, you will receive housing, food, a monthly allowance of $10,000, and at the end of the year, a lump sum payment of $500,000. Plus all your current debts cleared immediately." The room spun. Veronica gripped the edge of the table. "This is insane. Why would anyone?" "My employer has his reasons. He needs the appearance of stability for business purposes. You need financial security. It's a simple transaction." "Who is he?" "His name is Jae-won Kwon. He's a businessman. 32 years old. And there's one more thing you should know." Mrs. Park's expression shifted, becoming almost sympathetic. "He was in an accident 6 months ago. He uses a wheelchair. Many women have rejected him because of this. He wants someone who needs this arrangement enough not to care about his disability." Veronica's mind raced. $500,000. Debts cleared. A place to sleep that wasn't a cafe booth. But marriage to a complete stranger? I need to think. He needs an answer today. Now, actually. He's here. What? The door opened, and Veronica's breath caught. The man who wheeled himself into the room was nothing like she'd expected. Jae-won Kwon had the kind of face that belonged on magazine covers, all sharp jawlines and intense dark eyes that seemed to look straight through her. His black hair was perfectly styled, and even sitting in a wheelchair, he commanded the entire room's attention. Miss Johnson. His voice was deep, with a slight Korean accent that made her name sound exotic. I apologize for the abrupt nature of this meeting. But I'm not a man who wastes time. Mrs. Park has explained the arrangement? Veronica nodded, not trusting her voice. Do you have questions? 1,000. But what came out was, why me? Something flickered in his eyes. Mrs. Park has been researching candidates for weeks. You're educated, well-spoken, and desperate enough to say yes but proud enough not to take advantage. Also. He paused. You're beautiful. If I'm going to have a fake wife, she might as well be stunning. Heat crept up Veronica's neck. I don't. 24 hours ago, your stepmother kicked you out. Your father chose his new family over you. You have nowhere to go and no one to turn to. I'm offering you a lifeline. Take it or don't, but decide now. The words should have felt cruel, but they weren't. They were simply true. And there was something in his eyes, hidden beneath the cold exterior, that looked almost as desperate as she felt. 1 year, Veronica said. And then I'm free? With enough money to start whatever life you want. She extended her hand. You have a deal, Mr. Kwan. His hand was warm, his grip firm. Call me J1. We're married now, after all. We are? Mrs. Park slid papers across the table. Sign these. There's a courthouse official waiting. You'll be married within the hour. Everything moved like a dream after that. Signatures, more signatures, a brief ceremony in a private courthouse office with Mrs. Park and a stone-faced man in a dark suit as witnesses. Veronica became Mrs. Kwan before the sun set, and she still didn't quite believe it was real. The car that took them to J1's home was a sleek black Mercedes with windows so tinted she couldn't see out. The driver never spoke. J1 sat beside her in silence, his wheelchair folded in the trunk, his expression unreadable. Are you always this quiet? Veronica finally asked. He turned to her, and the corner of his mouth lifted. Almost a smile. Are you always this bold? When I've just married a complete stranger? Yes, apparently. This time he did smile, and it transformed his entire face. Good. I hate timid people. The house was not a house. It was a mansion, all modern lines and floor-to-ceiling windows, perched on a hillside with a view of the entire city. Veronica tried not to gape as they entered, but it was impossible. The foyer alone was bigger than her old apartment. Your room is upstairs, J1 said as his wheelchair emerged from a private elevator. Mine is on the ground floor for obvious reasons. You have free run of the house except for my office. Never enter my office without permission. Understood? Understood. Mrs. Park will take you shopping tomorrow for appropriate clothes. We have a charity gala on Friday. You'll need to be presentable. The word stung. I can be presentable. His eyes swept over her, and there was heat in that gaze that made her skin tingle. I didn't say you weren't. But my world has expectations. You'll need armor, not just clothes. A woman appeared from a side hallway, middle-aged and kind-faced. This is Eun-ji. She manages the household. Anything you need, ask her. Eun-ji smiled warmly at Veronica. Welcome, Mrs. Kwan. Let me show you to your room. Mrs. Kwan. The name felt foreign and strange. Veronica followed Eun-ji up a sweeping staircase to a bedroom suite that was bigger than anywhere she'd ever lived. A king-sized bed, a private bathroom with a soaking tub, a walk-in closet, and windows overlooking the city lights. Mr. Kwan asked me to prepare some basics for you, Eun-ji said, opening the closet to reveal pajamas, toiletries, and a few casual outfits. He hoped they'd fit. They looked exactly her size. How did he? Mr. Kwan is very thorough. Eun-ji's smile held secrets. Dinner will be ready in an hour. Would you like me to bring it up, or will you join him? Pride warred with curiosity. Curiosity won. I'll join him. An hour later, showered and changed into the soft lounge pants and sweater that had been waiting for her, Veronica found her way to the dining room. Jae-won was already there, transferred from his wheelchair to a chair at the head of a long table. She noticed how he moved, the strength in his arms, the way he didn't ask for or seem to need help. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the seat beside him rather than at the far end. The table filled with food, Korean dishes that made Veronica's mouth water. She hadn't realized how hungry she was until the sense hit her. "Eat," Jae-won said, watching her. "You look like you haven't had a decent meal in days." "I haven't," she admitted, no longer caring about pride. She filled her plate and took a bite, and actually moaned at the taste. When she opened her eyes, Jae-won was staring at her with an expression that made heat pool in her belly. "What?" she asked. "Nothing. It's just refreshing. Most women in my circle pick at their food and pretend not to be hungry. I'm not most women." "No," he said softly. "You're certainly not." They ate in comfortable silence for a while before Veronica asked, "Can I ask about the accident?" His fork paused halfway to his mouth. "What do you want to know?" "What happened?" Is it permanent?" "Car accident. 6 months ago. 3 broken vertebrae, extensive nerve damage. The doctors say I might walk again. I say they're optimistic fools." The bitterness in his voice was raw and real. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. Pity is the one thing I can't stomach." "It's not pity. It's empathy. There's a difference." He studied her for a long moment. "Yes. I suppose there is." He set down his fork. "We should discuss rules." "Rules?" "For this arrangement. First, what happens in this house stays private. No social media posts, no gossiping to friends. Second, in public, we present as a real couple. Affection, attention, unity. Third, you don't ask about my business. Fourth." He paused. "We maintain separate rooms. This is a contract, not a real marriage." Something twisted in Veronica's chest at that last rule, which was ridiculous. She barely knew this man. "Agreed. My rules, you treat me with respect, not like an employee. You don't control who I see or talk to, within reason. And if either of us wants out before the year is up, we have an honest conversation about it. Fair." He extended his hand across the table. "To a successful partnership, Veronica." She shook it, ignoring the electricity that shot through her at his touch. "To survival, Jae-won." The next 3 days passed in a whirlwind. Mrs. Park arrived each morning to take Veronica shopping, transforming her from a broke college graduate into someone who looked like she belonged in Jae-won's world. Designer dresses, jewelry that probably cost more than a car, shoes that were more art than footwear. In the evenings, Jae-won taught her what she needed to know. The names of important people she'd meet at the gala. Korean phrases for politeness. How to handle invasive questions about their relationship. "We met at a charity event," he coached her. "You were volunteering. I was immediately taken with you. We kept our relationship private because of my recovery. The marriage was impulsive but right." "How romantic," Veronica said dryly. "Romance is for fools. We're survivors." But there were moments when it felt like more than survival. Like when she caught him watching her with an expression that made her breath hitch. Or when his hand lingered on the small of her back as he showed her how to greet business associates. Or late at night when she heard him in the pool below her window, swimming laps with powerful strokes, his upper body strength on full display. The night of the gala, Veronica barely recognized herself in the mirror. The dress was a deep emerald green that hugged every curve, the slit climbing dangerously high on her thigh. Her hair was styled in elegant curls, her makeup flawless. When she descended the stairs, Jae-won was waiting in the foyer. He'd abandoned the wheelchair for a sleek black cane, leaning on it as he stood. The suit he wore was clearly custom-made, and he looked dangerous and beautiful all at once. His eyes widened when he saw her. "You're going to cause a riot. Is that appropriate for a charity gala?" "Depends on the charity." He pulled a long velvet box from his pocket. For you. Inside was a diamond necklace that probably cost more than most people made in a year. J1, I can't. You're my wife. You wear my diamonds. He moved behind her, fastening the necklace himself. His fingers brushed her neck, and she shivered. Perfect, he whispered, his breath warm against her ear. The gala was exactly as overwhelming as Veronica had feared. A ballroom full of wealthy, powerful people who looked at her with curiosity and thinly veiled judgment. She felt their stares, heard their whispers. Who is she? I heard she's from nowhere, nobody. He married her. Why? Does she have something on him? J1's hand found hers, squeezing gently. Ignore them. You're worth 10 of anyone in this room. You don't know me well enough to say that. I know enough. They made their rounds, J1 introducing her to dozens of people whose names she immediately forgot. She smiled until her face hurt, played the role of devoted wife, and tried not to think about how right it felt to stand beside him. Then she saw her stepmother. Victoria stood across the room in a gaudy red dress, talking to an older man in an expensive suit. When their eyes met, Victoria's face went through a series of expressions: shock, confusion, rage, and finally, calculation. J1, Veronica whispered urgently. My stepmother is here. His expression hardened. Where? Red dress, 10 o'clock. He turned smoothly, assessing. The man she's with is Marcus Chen. Businessman, 3-time divorce, and known for his predatory behavior toward young women. Interesting company your stepmother keeps. Before Veronica could respond, Victoria was bearing down on them, Marcus in tow. Veronica? Victoria's voice was syrupy sweet, so different from the venom 3 days ago. Is that really you? Oh my goodness, I've been so worried. You ran off before we could talk properly. Veronica's hand tightened on J1's arm. I didn't run. You threw me out. Such a misunderstanding. You know how families quarrel. But look at you now, all dressed up. Are you working here? Catering or something? The insult was deliberate. But before Veronica could respond, J1 spoke. Actually, she's with me. Veronica is my wife. Victoria's face went pale. Your wife? Is there a problem? J1's voice could have cut glass. Marcus stepped forward, extending his hand. Quan, good to see you. I didn't know you'd married. Congratulations. J1 ignored the hand. Chen. Still preying on desperate women, I see. How is wife number 3's divorce settlement treating you? Marcus's smile froze. Now, that's hardly. If you'll excuse us, my wife and I have better company to keep. J1 turned them away smoothly, leaving Victoria and Marcus gaping. Once they were out of earshot, Veronica let out a shaky breath. Thank you. For what? Defending me. You didn't have to make an enemy of Marcus Chen. J1 stopped, turning to face her fully. The intensity in his eyes made her pulse race. Veronica, Marcus Chen is nothing. A small-time player pretending at power. And no one insults my wife. Fake wife, she corrected, but her voice was weak. The ring on your finger is real. The papers we signed are real. And that means you're under my protection. Anyone who tries to hurt you will regret it. The possessiveness in his voice should have frightened her. Instead, it sent warmth flooding through her entire body. Guys, if you're loving this drama as much as I am, do me a favor and smash that subscribe button. Drop a like and comment below telling me what you think of J1 so far. Is he green flag or red flag? Let me know. Now back to the story because things are about to get even more intense. The rest of the gala passed in a blur, but Veronica couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Every time she turned around, she caught glimpses of people staring, whispering. Victoria's shocked face haunted her. On the drive home, J1 was quiet, his jaw tight. What's wrong? Veronica asked. You said you wanted honesty between us. Yes. Then I should tell you that tonight changed things. Before, our marriage was private, a quiet arrangement. But now it's public. People know. And that means you're going to become a target. Fear prickled down her spine. A target for what? He looked at her, and there was something haunted in his eyes. I haven't been entirely truthful with you about my business, Veronica. What do you mean? I'm not just a businessman. My family, the Kwan family, we control certain operations. Import, export, security. Things that exist in gray areas of the law. The air left Veronica's lungs. You're saying you're a criminal? I'm saying I'm powerful, and power makes enemies. People who might try to use you to get to me. She should have been terrified. Should have demanded he let her out of the car right then. But instead, she heard herself ask, "Why did you really marry me, J1?" He was quiet for so long she didn't think he'd answer. Then, because 6 months ago, I was supposed to die in that accident. It wasn't an accident at all. Someone tried to kill me, and they failed. Being in this wheelchair makes me look weak, vulnerable. I needed a wife to project stability, normalcy. To make my enemies think I'm focusing on domestic life while I figure out who betrayed me. And you brought me into this? Knowing I could be in danger? I brought you into this because you were already drowning. At least this way, you have a fighting chance. And... He reached out, his fingers brushing her cheek. I won't let anyone hurt you. That's a promise. The touch was gentle, almost reverent. Veronica leaned into it before she could stop herself. You barely know me. I know you're brave. You're proud even when you have nothing. You eat like every meal might be your last, and you don't look at me with pity. That's enough. The car pulled into the mansion's driveway. Neither of them moved. I should be running, Veronica whispered. But you're not. No. I'm not. His hand slid into her hair, pulling her closer. Tell me to stop. What if I don't want you to? The kiss was inevitable, crashing over them like a wave. His lips were soft but demanding, his hand fisting in her hair as he pulled her across the seat toward him. Veronica melted into it, all the tension and heat of the past days exploding into this one perfect moment. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, J1 rested his forehead against hers. This complicates things. Everything is already complicated. True. He pulled back, his thumb tracing her swollen bottom lip. We should go inside. It's not safe out here in the open. The moment broke, reality crashing back. Veronica followed him inside, her mind spinning. What was she doing? This was supposed to be a business arrangement, a means to an end. But nothing about the way her body was responding to J1 felt like business. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every sound made her jump, J1's warnings about enemies echoing in her mind. Around 2 in the morning, she gave up and wandered downstairs to the kitchen for water. The light was already on. J1 sat at the kitchen island, his wheelchair parked beside him, a glass of whiskey in his hand. Can't sleep either? Veronica asked. Never can anymore. Too many ghosts. She poured herself water and sat beside him. Want to talk about it? Not particularly. Want to talk about what happened in the car? Heat crept up her neck. Also not particularly. He smiled, a real smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes. We're a mess, aren't we? The worst. They sat in comfortable silence for a while before J1 spoke again. My brother is coming to visit tomorrow. You have a brother? Unfortunately. Older, more successful, and infinitely more charming. He's going to hate that I got married without telling him. Will he hate me? J1 turned to her, his expression serious. He's going to love you. That's what worries me. The next morning, Veronica was still processing that cryptic statement when a whirlwind in the form of J1's brother arrived. Dae-Young Kwon was taller than J1, his features softer but equally handsome. He swept into the mansion like he owned it, his designer suit immaculate, his smile bright. Baby brother. He stopped short when he saw J1 in the living room. You look like hell. Oh wait, you always look like that now. Dae-young, Jae-won's voice was flat. Always a pleasure. Dae-young's eyes landed on Veronica, and his smile grew. And who is this vision? Please tell me you've finally hired someone with good taste to decorate this mausoleum. This is my wife, Veronica. Veronica, my brother Dae-young, who apparently wasn't raised with manners. Dae-young's mouth fell open. Wife? Wife? When the hell did you get married? Last week. It was a private ceremony. Private? You mean secret. You mean you cut your own family out of one of the biggest moments of your life? Dae-young's anger was sudden and real. What were you thinking? I was thinking it's my life. Your life affects all of us, Jae-won. Everything you do impacts the family business, our reputation, He stopped himself, glancing at Veronica. Does she know? She knows enough. Enough? There's no such thing as enough in our world. Either she knows everything, or she's a liability. Dae-young turned to Veronica, his expression hard. What exactly did my brother tell you about our family? Veronica lifted her chin, refusing to be intimidated. He told me you control certain operations. That you have enemies. That I might be in danger because I'm married to him. And you stayed anyway? Why? What did he offer you? That's none of your business. Dae-young laughed, but it wasn't friendly. Oh, she's got fire. I like that. But fire gets you burned in our world, sweetheart. Let me guess, you needed money. Everyone always needs money. Jae-won offered you a deal, probably with a time limit. A contracted marriage, am I close? The accuracy of his guess must have shown on her face because Dae-young's expression turned pitying. Oh, honey. You have no idea what you've walked into. Dae-young, enough, Jae-won's voice was dangerous. No, not enough. She deserves to know that the Kwon family isn't just powerful, we're feared. We control half the underground in this city. Drugs, weapons, information, we deal in all of it. And we have rivals who would love nothing more than to find a weakness in our armor. A new wife that nobody knows, that nobody vetted? That's a massive weakness. Veronica's head spun. Drugs? Weapons? This was so much worse than she'd imagined. I can protect her, Jae-won said. You? Dae-young gestured at the wheelchair. You can't even protect yourself. That's why someone put you in that chair in the first place. Jae-won moved faster than Veronica thought possible. One moment he was seated, the next he'd launched himself from the wheelchair, slamming Dae-young against the wall with his forearm against his throat. The wheelchair clattered to the ground behind him. Say that again, Jae-won hissed. I dare you. Dae-young's eyes were wide, but he was smiling. There he is. There's the brother I know. I was wondering if the accident had broken your spirit too. Jae-won released him, stumbling slightly as he stepped back. Veronica rushed forward to steady him, and he leaned on her heavily, his breathing labored. You're an asshole, Jae-won said to his brother. I know. But I'm an asshole who's trying to keep you alive. Dae-young straightened his suit, his expression sobering. The family knows about the marriage now. Father wants to meet her. Tomorrow night, dinner at the estate. No. It's not a request, Jae-won. You made a major move without consulting the family. There are consequences. After Dae-young left, the mansion felt oppressively quiet. Jae-won had retreated to his office, shutting the door in Veronica's face when she tried to follow. She spent the afternoon pacing, her mind racing with everything she'd learned. She'd married into a crime family. A mafia family. Everything about this was insane, dangerous, potentially deadly. She should run, take what money she had and disappear. But even as she thought it, she knew she wouldn't. That evening, she found Jae-won in the pool. He was swimming laps, his powerful strokes eating up the length of the water. She watched from the edge, mesmerized by the strength in his body, the determination in every movement. When he finally stopped, pulling himself to the edge where she sat, he looked up at her with haunted eyes. I'm sorry, he said. I should have told you everything from the beginning. Yes, you should have. Are you leaving? The question hung between them. Veronica thought about her answer carefully. Where would I go? Back to sleeping in cafes? Back to a family that doesn't want me? At least here, I know what I'm fighting. You shouldn't have to fight at all. She slid into the pool, dress and all, making him jerk back in surprise. The water was warm, enveloping her as she moved closer to him. What are you doing? He asked, his voice rough. Something probably very stupid. She closed the distance between them, her hands finding his shoulders. Tell me something true, J1. Something real. His hands found her waist, pulling her closer. I think about you constantly. Every moment since you walked into that restaurant. This was supposed to be business, but you've gotten under my skin, and I don't know how to make it stop. What if I don't want you to make it stop? The kiss was slower this time, deeper. His hands roamed her back as she wrapped her legs around his waist, the thin fabric of her dress no barrier between them. When his lips left hers to trail down her neck, she gasped, her head falling back. We shouldn't, he murmured against her skin, even as his hands tightened on her. Probably not. This changes everything. Maybe it needs to change. He pulled back just enough to look at her, water droplets clinging to his lashes. I can't promise you safety. I can't promise you normal. All I can promise is that I'll fight for you, with everything I have. Then fight, she whispered. And let me fight with you. That night, the rule about separate rooms was broken. Veronica woke in J1's bed, his body wrapped around hers, and for the first time in weeks, she felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. The feeling didn't last long. The next evening, as they prepared for dinner with J1's father, the mansion's security system blared to life. Armed men in black suits flooded the house, and for one terrifying moment, Veronica thought they were under attack. It's fine, J1 said grimly. It's just father being dramatic. An older man entered the living room, his presence commanding despite his small stature. He had J1's eyes but none of his warmth. Behind him walked a woman Veronica recognized from the gala. Victoria, her stepmother, was smiling like the cat that got the cream. Hello, father, J1 said coldly. I see you brought a guest. Mrs. Chen was kind enough to share some very interesting information with me, Father Quan said, his accent thick. About your new wife's background. Or should I say, lack thereof? Veronica's blood ran cold. What? Victoria stepped forward, her voice dripping with false sympathy. I'm so sorry, Veronica, but when I discovered you'd married into such a prominent family, I felt it was my duty to ensure they knew the truth about you. About your mother. My mother has nothing to do with this. Doesn't she? Should we tell them how your mother was a con artist?